Actually, I was just actually in the process of calling your city mental health team. So
Okay.
I was on the other line. Sorry, I've just ended that call. Yeah, how you doing?
I'm not. Have you ended that call yet?
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
actually, I was expecting your call and I didn't. So, and you know, they kept me waiting for a while. So, I've ended that
No,
call. Yeah.
no,
So, thanks for calling me back.
that's all right. How's things? You all right?
Yeah, I'm okay. How are you?
Yeah, I'm well, thanks. How's Talib?
Yeah, he's okay. Yes.
Good. Yeah, I'm just calling as arranged, really, Shazad. So I don't know if um, I don't know if there's anything you'd like to talk about. I haven't got any kind of updates from my side.
Well, I mean,
I'm,
the purpose of this call was to get an update from yourself, because as you can appreciate, the last time we spoke, I was expecting an update, and there was no update forthcoming, and you said you'll get back to us. So, are you trying to tell me the situation as it presently stands? There's been no further developments. You were supposed to find out how much money my brother's accumulated. You supposed to explain to me that you now accept my brother has mental capacity. Given the mental capacity report, there was issues regarding his ongoing issues, various ongoing issues that need to be resolved. Particularly around money, and all of a sudden, like you've come down uninvited, on the instructions of the public guardian, and then are you telling me today you've got no further updates?
So there's nothing changed since then. I think there will be a meeting at some point. But it's only really following like meetings that like an MDT that I could provide any update. I mean, I can try and find out how much money Talib has in appointeeship. So I can try and find out and give you a call back when I do find out.
Yeah,
Other than that,
but the,
it's just a case to kind of check in with you, just to make sure Talib's okay. Make sure that I can send the money that was provided by appointeeships back. So I'm just double checking that you don't want, or Talib doesn't want to accept that money.
but
But
you
there's
know,
been no change regarding what
but
you requested regarding the mental capacity, Talib's mental capacity. It's something that I can bring to the next meeting, and your
when
questions is
when
what I
when
can bring to that.
when is the next MDT? When was the last MDT meeting?
It was several weeks ago.
Okay, and who attended?
I can't go into that, Shazad.
So you're having
I'm
multi.
just explaining.
Oh, okay.
I'm just.
All right. When's the next
I'm just.
MDT meet? When's the
I'm
next?
just explaining the
Yeah.
way that it works. That's all.
Well, I'm trying to find out information from yourself. There was an MDT meeting held regarding Talib when neither Talib and myself were invited. All right, decisions were made regarding his money. Where you're saying you're going to give us £250, and you're ringing up today to find out are we desperate enough to accept it today? Is that right?
No, not really. I'm just calling up because I said I'd call up.
Yeah,
I was just double checking that the situation regarding the money was the same.
but
Just making sure that Talib's okay. So I'm just calling because you asked me to call.
yeah, I asked you to call to give me an update. All right, that was 2 weeks ago. Remember, you were supposed to call. We last had a telephone conversation 2 weeks ago. All right, there were issues regarding. You said I'm going to write out to you. I said don't write out to us. So you ignored that and wrote out to us and then came down the following day to offer us some money, which was unnecessary because obviously we explained here we can't accept this money because the money that you're having now is, as far as we're called, as far as we are concerned, is stolen goods. All right, my brother's not consented to you for you to have this money. All right, and the fact that you've got this money, and more than this, the fact that you've taken £1,000 from my bedroom. All right, and you're not giving me that back. And the fact that you're railroading us into, classifying me as a vexatious complainer and asking me to send emails to you, you just basically want it all your own way. And I'm just very exasperated at the fact that presently, there seems to be everything up in the air, and it's all advantage to yourself, isn't it? It's all geared So you have anonymity as the council. You have no liability as a council. You do as you please. You don't have to give an account to anybody. You don't have to give an account to me or anybody else. And you just say, we're the local authority and we'll just do whatever we say and you should just trust us. The bottom line is that obviously, as you know, my brother's not receiving any income. And that's his benefit money. Never mind his money that he's entitled to for social care. And, you know, it just seems like it's very convenient for yourselves to just sit on the fence and not do anything and anticipate a tragedy to happen. And it just seems very, you know, disingenuous on the part of both the local authority and the health authority by saying that, no, nothing's going to happen. We'll just leave it as it is because it's just a standoff situation. And in a standoff situation where you know it's detrimental to our long-term interest, we're not getting any money from yourselves. You know, you've even taken £1,000 from my bedroom that you're not giving back. You're forcing me to...
What's this about the £1,000? I don't understand.
Well, when they kicked me out of the house, all right, me and Talib out of the house, there was £1,000 in my bedroom, all right, and the local authority just taxed that, all right. So they're not giving me.
I didn't know anything about
and this is the problem, you see, Chris, because with all due respect, and you know I've been very courteous to yourself, and so have you. This situation is exasperating because, you know, they're fronting you to speak to me and get information to me, or, you know, or tell me what's going to happen, all right, or get some information from me. But yet the decision makers are hiding behind the corporate veil, all right, and, you know, not speaking to us. And, you know, I'm just exasperated at this present situation because as it presently stands, you know, we can have this conversation today, and this conversation can be repeating in 3 months' time. In 6 months' time, in 1 year's time, you can say, yeah, we're still waiting to have a meeting. All right? There is no impetus upon yourselves to do anything. Because every day that goes by is a day that you're effectively saving money. That money that Talib is getting is just accumulating for yourself and it's in your interest. And then obviously if Talib dies, then obviously you just keep the money. And that's exactly what's happened in my mum's case. Money was accumulating. She's died. You just kept the money. It's just very, very exasperating because you're a local authority. You're meant to be open and transparent. I'm a private citizen, and yet, you know, you've created a situation which is twisted, where you have anonymity and no liability, and you're operating without any consequences. Like, this is quite clearly neglectful now. Since our last meeting, are you trying to tell me, since you came down last week, you've not had any other meetings with anybody?
No.
Okay. And
unfortunately, it's a slow process. Is this situation? So when the concerns that you do, I make a note of them, and I do bring them forward the next opportunity at a meeting, and then I can provide you with a bit of an answer, or try and provide you with an answer until that point.
Okay, well, I mean, but the thing is, like, today is the 25th of May, all right? We originally had a conversation, I believe, at the start of April, where I had asked yourselves to formally acknowledge his mental capacity report. I had asked yourself to formally give a letter of recommendation that my brother should not be rehoused. You know, like, he's staying, just for him to support his application to be, have a tenancy here. If he has mental capacity and he's been living here since 2005, since his discharge into the community in 2005, which is, you know, as you can appreciate, many years ago. And you said, I'll have to get back to you upon this. And, you know, we've not received anything that progresses the matter. All right. And this issue regarding his housing, I mean, as it presently stands, Talib's housing situation is not certain, is it? It's not, there's no, what is it? What's the word? Confirmation of where he's going to be staying. Everything's up in the air. So, you know, obviously that's something that needs to happen, and that's something that I brought up in the last multidisciplinary team meeting, MDT meeting in January 2019. That said, look, his housing situation needs to be confirmed. At that time, my mother was a tenancy holder, and I was looking to get the tenancy transferred over to Talib's name. Now, do you know that this property, you've been to the property now, you've seen Talib, one of the reasons that we were given this property was because of Talib. Talib at the time was under a section, was being sectioned at the at the Linfield Mount, and in order to rehouse him, it was that's how we got the property, even though my mum was a tenancy holder. So as it presently stands, nothing's really being progressed, while at the same time, we're being made financially destitute. And it just seems that, this is a clear example of a tragedy waiting to happen, and where subsequently, the health authority and the local authority say, oh, well, lessons will be learned for the next time. While the reality is that you yourselves are instigating or creating the situation. These things can be resolved. I've explained to you how things can be resolved. Regarding his money situation, the local authority has no legal right to have control of his benefit money. That benefit, any accumulated money, should be returned to the DWP. We can then collect his money. The local authority have no legal right to act as his deputy, DWP deputy. But that's just his benefit money that the local authority, are accumulating. What about the 70, 80, I think 80, 90,000 pounds that Adalat's got? All right. So my brother's a very rich guy, effectively, because you've taken money from me, from our trust fund, and said I frauded it from Talib because I was neglecting him or not spending the money. You've then taken the money and given it to Adalat, who's absconded with the money. So there's and Adalat's doing the same thing that the council, are doing, which is not giving Talib his money. So it's not the case that Talib doesn't have money. We're not even asking for the council's money now. The council is saving over £410, which you were initially giving since August 2012, or nearly 10 years ago. So it's not even that money. It's Talib's benefit money that you're not giving him, that you're accumulating, and all the legal action that you took against me on behalf of Talib to get him his money. There's 90,000 pounds that Adalat's got. And there's no way that Talib is going to see any of this money, is there? And you come in.
I agree with you. Obviously, it's Talib's money, and currently he's not seeing any of his own money. So
that's correct.
If I can resolve that situation,
but I don't think you can.
I'll do everything I can to resolve that situation. It just takes a bit of time.
Well, thank you very much.
As I said, at the stage we was asked to kind of visit with only the £250, but now I can go back and say that isn't being accepted. I can say the reasons why it's not being accepted, and I can ask if there's another way that Talib can be given his money. I'll say that group to be returned to DWP and see if that's an option. I want there to be this to be resolved as well.
But the thing is, Chris, there's other things that as you can appreciate, mental health is complex. You're not going to disagree with me on this. People with mental health problems is a very complex area because you're not dealing with people with sanity. Some people have they're hearing invisible voices and all sorts of other stuff. That adds a level of complexity. Further to that complexity is when people, even you, Chris, I'm not sure what your background is, but if your parents died or if you suffered a bereavement, that could have a mental health toll on it. Poverty has a mental health toll. If you're not having access to money and resources, and you're not having any your emotional needs met. Mental health is complex. I don't think you're gonna disagree with me on that. It makes it far more difficult when there's a situation regarding money. Money is simple. There's no complexity to money, because obviously you either get money or you don't get money. All right. Now my brother Talib, I'm just struggling to understand that the local authority, have convicted me of the very crime that you're now committing, which is not giving Talib unfettered access to his money, and yet there seems to be no impetus to resolve this matter. You are now telling me, Chris, Browell are going to try to your best to resolve this matter, and I appreciate that. But this is not a concern for you personally. This should be a concern for the senior management and the council as an authority in itself. That why is there a vulnerable person whom you have whose carer you have convicted for financially exploiting him, only to now be only for the local authority to be now financially exploiting him. He's got over tens of thousands of pounds, all right, that he's not even getting access to, and it's very, very disingenuous and disrespectful and discourteous, and really unfair that you should come down and like wave £250 in front of us. You understand that? That seems very.
Yeah, I understand. I understand that.
Yeah. Yeah. So you understand that. So that's something that can be resolved. But like I said, if you want to resolve the situation or have a multidisciplinary meeting or see a way forward, quite clearly, the suggestions that you have that, we'll come down and we'll give you £250, that has been negated because we've refused to accept it. So maybe it would be better that, I could speak to somebody or senior to say, look, this is what can happen, rather than you guys having a private meeting, a multidisciplinary private meeting, making a decision and then dictating to me, this is what we've decided. Because we don't agree to any of this. Now, one of the problems is that the £250, when you came down, I tried to explain to you, is that by accepting it, we are accepting stolen goods. Because there's no legal basis for you to have this money. Number one, I've presented you with a mental capacity report so that my brother now has mental capacity. So anything that you do regarding my brother Talib requires his consent. So you understand the concept of consent. Because when you came down and I informed you I was recording or wanted to take a photograph of your ID, you didn't consent. So, anything that you're doing now, you're having making decisions regarding Talib's life without his consent. And I have his consent to do what I'm doing. Do you understand? So, if there are, you're coming down like we said, we didn't give you consent to come down. So you've come down and we've classified that as harassment. And then you've explained to us, well, the Office of the Public Guardian has asked us to come down. Now, this, Chris, is very, very alarming and concerning. Why is the local authority, which is yourself, taking instructions from the Office of the Public Guardian? How is that happening?
It's not, when it's an instruction, you can understand that because the local authority has appointeeships, they have a duty to try and provide Talib with the money, which is what we're trying to do. That I can then go back and explain the reason why that money isn't accepted, and that it's because it will be and Talib would consider it as validating the appointeeships which you disagree with. I can then find out what the next step will be if there's a better way.
Chris, that's not the question. With all due respect, that's not the question I'm asking. I'm asking under what authority can an outside agency, namely the Office of the Public Guardian, require you, the council, to come down to deliver money? Because quite clearly this matter has been the same previously, and the council have not made any effort to deliver the money previously, have they? Prior to this decision, when was the previous attempt to deliver the money? So it's only a concern that has arisen by the Office of the Public Guardian, saying, well, wait on a minute, you're the deputies, all right, and have you made any attempt to give Talib the money? And so, that's what I'm trying to understand is how can you, the council, take instructions from a third party, namely the Office of the Public Guardian, to come down to the house?
Whether it's instructions or advice,
advice.
Okay. I don't fully understand.
Okay. All right. All right, that's fair enough.
I'm following advice. And one of them was getting the opportunity to access some of his money.
All right. Okay. Well, fair enough. I appreciate your honesty that you don't understand what's happening here. But obviously, the person that understands what is happening here and has been involved in this situation from day one is myself. So I fully understand what's happening here. But whether you classify the terminology of the Office of the Public Guardian giving you the local authority instructions, or whether giving advice, it it's still an influence in it. And that's what I'm personally trying to understand is that number one is how is the Office of the Public Guardian having concerns or giving advice regarding you to you, the council. That's the first point. But the second and more alarming point is this: as you've explained, this matter's in court. Okay, so if the Office of the Public Guardian has any issues, why have they not brought this matter? Because, it's one thing where if this was not in court, that would be an issue. But this matter is in court, and this is what concerns me, Chris, which is really, really alarming to me. And as you know, there's been previous attempts for the local authority coming down to visit Talib, do a welfare check. All this stuff seems to be perverting the institution of justice. It's interfering with the rule of law or injustice, because the matter's presently in court. If there's anything that you need to do anything, like for example, if you want to do a welfare check, or if you want to give Talib money, or if you want to do anything, why is the court process being curtailed? It just seems that, you're looking to get, like, for example, when you came down in November, December, trying to do a welfare check while the court proceedings going on. How is this not classed as perverting justice?
Whilst the matter's in court, I myself continue to have the responsibility as Talib's care coordinator. So that's the reason why I stay in communication and why I call and why I try to provide access to Talib's money.
Okay. No, I'm sorry, Chris.
A lot of these things probably need to get sorted in court, but in the meantime, there's still kind of duties and responsibilities, and I'm just trying to follow those duties and responsibilities.
No, look, Chris. No have I drawn any criticism towards you? No criticism.
No. I know it's a difficult situation. I can understand your frustrations. I'm just trying to kind of explain.
Yeah, but I'm trying to explain to you that no criticism is being drawn towards you. I know you would try to do the best that under these circumstances, but the reality is that you can't. All right, you're limited in what you can and cannot do. What the question I was asking is that, for example, if a matter is in court, all right, then quite clearly, if there's outside interference taking place, like for example, if there's a witness and the matter's in court, and one of the parties speaks to the witness, that's interfering with court procedures, isn't it? Because the matter's in court, so you can't speak to the person. So for example, in this situation, this matter presently is in the court of protection. You, the local authority, are instigating, trying to achieve something, all right? And then at the same time, outside of the courtroom, you're interfering with the situation. Like, for example, this coming down, I know what you've been directed to do, but is this not classed as interfering with due process? Because when you're in court...
I can understand your point of view, what you're saying. It is a complicated matter, isn't it?
Is it not a conflict of interest? Is it not a conflict of interest? For example, when you go to court, you go with your evidence, don't you? You present evidence that this is what's happening. This is what's happened. But then ongoing, like for example, let's just say for argument's sake, let's say you, the council, were losing this case. For argument's sake, hypothetically, you were losing this case, and you thought, well, in order to get us an advantage, we'll go down and we'll harass the person, we'll get him to, make it a police incident, and then we can utilize this new incident in order to start winning the case. And that's what's happened to me in the past, Chris, because previously, as you can appreciate, not in my mother's case, not in my brother's case, but in my mother's case, the local authority were providing a service to my mother. And in the background, while this matter was in court, one of the care staffs was trying to sexually seduce me, all right? And start a romantic relationship with us. under the instructions of the local authority. And this was obviously interfering with the due process. Now, if I had assaulted or if I had done anything wrong, that could have been used as evidence against me in those court proceedings. Similarly, in this situation, I find this is like for example, if you and I, we had no contact and everything had to go through the courts, then at least there would be no like conflict of interest. But I just think it's a bit of a conflict of interest where on the one hand, we're speaking about matters that are effectively in court, out of court. All right. I'm asking you to do something. You're trying to resolve something, and particularly regarding money. So this matter that's presently in court is all to do with money. It's all to do with Talib's finances and who's going to be responsible for his finances. And so therefore, please help me understand how you coming down to give us money is not a conflict of interest and is not an attempt to pervert justice.
I think as it stands, even though it's in court, the local authority currently is appointee, so it would have a duty to try and make efforts to provide Talib access to his money. So it's difficult how that we could avoid that conflict of interest.
Well, the thing is, the whole point, the reason that this matters in court is because the appointeeship is being challenged. All right, the reason that we're in court is that my brother's lasting power of attorney is being challenged. So presently, there are two instruments, legal instruments. One is the appointeeship, and the other is the lasting power of attorney. Now, with regards to the lasting power of attorney, without my involvement, that's been suspended. All right, so that has no validity. Yet the courts have said that the appointeeship, all right, or deputyship has validity. Now, I've submitted evidence in February, March. I've submitted evidence in April this year. All right, so that says that the order that you have, the council has, that Talib can act, you can act as Talib's deputy, is fraudulent in nature because the order is an instrument of fraud. All right, because both my sister Shaida and my brother Adalat confirmed that the council was never made Talib's deputy. All right. So in court in January 2019, when the order was made, the council had no involvement in that court proceedings. Subsequently, January 2018, yes, and then subsequently my brother's been sectioned under the mental health in August 2018, subsequently discharged into my care. All this time, the local authority were not deputies. It is inconceivable that the local authority are deputies for Talib. They have doctored a court order. And that is, obviously you would choose not to agree with me or whatever, but that is the reality. And that's where the present situation in court is. The present situation in court is the fact that my brother's lasting power of attorney has been suspended for both health and welfare and property and finances. There is an order stating the local authority to be deputy. But that order was made by Judge Hesford on the 2nd of January 2018, when the local authority were not even a party. I've submitted evidence to show the fact that it is impossible for the local authority to be Talib's deputy. All right? And the matter's now, obviously, because I've submitted evidence that's irrefutable, the matter's just been left to stay like this. And then subsequently, you're coming to me out of courtroom to give us money like £250 just as a tick box that we're refusing to accept the money. I've explained to you that we cannot accept the money because we cannot understand under what legal framework you're giving us this money. And also, it's very disingenuous on the part of the local authority because, like I said, you've taken £1,000 from my bedroom that you're not giving us back. Also, Mr. Browell, I need to make you aware that, and please take note of this for your next meeting, that when I've come back into this property with Talib on the 6th of February, Talib's room has been emptied out. So Talib's bedroom has been completely emptied out. So he's lost everything. Now I need an answer of the fact that why the local authority have removed me from the premises, taken charge of the house, and then removed items from Talib's bedroom. So this is a very problematic situation. You the local authority have basically stolen all of Talib's property from his bedroom, his clothes. The whole bedroom was empty. There was a wardrobe. There's a side drawer that's missing. These questions need to be answered. What's happened to all his property, all his clothes, everything's just gone?
Yeah, I can make a note of that. I don't know anything about that.
Well, somebody needs to tell us. Like, for example, look at the situation, Mr. Browell. You, the local authority, have said that his primary carer, namely me, his brother, has been financially exploiting him for like over 6-7 years and not giving him a penny, all right, and not spending any money on him. You've then sent me to jail and put Adalat in place, our nefarious brother, who's been abusing Talib in my absence, all right, physically abusing him, and then subsequently now is financially abusing him by not giving him access to the money that the council have taken off me to give to Adalat. And so the situation now is that, you've really, pardon my language, but you've really and truly screwed a Talib up, haven't you, as a council? You've attempted to alienate his primary carer, which is myself, by sending me to prison. You've then subsequently taken away all his direct payment money. You've taken away now all his DWP pension, Department of Work and Pension money, all his benefit money. You've gone to his bedroom and you've emptied everything out of his bedroom, and then subsequently you're trying to force through the fact that he lacks mental capacity and the fact that you want to control him now and make decisions about his life. What concerns me is that my brother has mental capacity. He's authorized me to take care of his finances and make decisions regarding health and welfare. Why have you, the council, in collaboration with the Office of the Public Guardian, removed the health and welfare lasting power of attorney? So presently, you, the local authority, you're saying that you're the deputy for his finances. But can you understand, more than money, it's his health and welfare that is paramount to Talib and is a concern for me, because this is a vulnerable person who's doubly incontinent, who's got mental health problems, who's got physical problems. Somebody needs to be responsible for making health and welfare decisions on his behalf, and in order to do that, there needs to be a lasting power of attorney in place for health and welfare, which my brother signed to me. Now, the local authority can make the argument that, look, the lasting power of attorney for property and finances can't be had by me because you, the local authority, have criminally convicted me of financially frauding my brother. But why have you removed the health and welfare deputyship? And why is there no health and welfare deputy in place? Because then on the one hand, you've removed the lasting power of attorney for health and welfare, which my brother had signed to me. And then now you, Chris, are telling me to deal with his doctors. Under what legal authority can I deal with his doctors now?
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
This is a situation that you've created. You can make the argument, it's a very flawed argument, but you can make the argument that me, his brother and carer, should not have access to his money because me having my brother's lasting power of attorney is a conflict of interest to the local authority, Bradford Council's criminal conviction against me. So I can't be criminally convicted for financially abusing Talib and then have his lasting power of attorney. So that's what the local authority is focusing upon. But I'm more importantly like yourself, Mr. Browell, you got nothing to do with the money. Your interest should be my brother's health and welfare. And that's why you're ringing me up and asking me, how's my brother doing? How am I doing? That's got nothing to do with the money. That's all to do with health and welfare. Now, my brother signed a lasting power of attorney for health and welfare in my favor so I can make decisions on his behalf. You, the local authority, along with the Office of the Public Guardian, have suspended the health and welfare lasting power of attorney. So when you go to this meeting next, please can you restore or unsuspend his lasting power of attorney for health and welfare at least. So that way I can deal with his doctors or any other healthcare professional. Because in the absence of the lasting power of attorney for health and welfare, And in the absence of you recognizing that my brother has mental capacity to make his own decisions, how are we meant to do anything?
Yeah, no, that's fair comment. Absolutely. Yeah, I can ask you that.
Yeah, because the reality is that you've created the situation. You have not. It's one thing, like for example, you've suspended the lasting power of attorney for property and finances, and appointed yourself as the local authority that you're going to be in charge of his finances. Okay, so there's somebody there, isn't there? There's somebody accountable. Either it was me through the lasting power of attorney, or it's either you, the council, for his as deputies. But what about his health and welfare? You've suspended that. And there's nobody presently who is supposed to make decisions on behalf of Talib's health and welfare. Please explain that to me.
Yeah, no, I can. Yeah, I don't know.
You don't. Nobody knows that.
Effectively, you are at the moment.
I can't.
Whether you've got LPA or not,
But the reason is that the reason I'm making these, like, everything has to be done with consent and lawfulness. I can't do something unlawful, can I? Now, the only reason that I'm actually making these decisions is because I've got a mental capacity report stating that my brother has mental capacity. So my brother's making it, consenting to me to do something. But if you don't recognize, so this is the situation, Chris, and this is the problem. On the one hand, let's just talk about health and welfare. Forget about the money. On the one hand, the Office of the Public Guardian, the local authority, have suspended his lasting power of attorney for health and welfare. Okay, you've not put a deputy in place or an alternative person to deal with his health and welfare. All right. Then I've gone along and I said, okay, well, fair enough. Let's just let me get his mental capacity, so he's got capacity to consent and everything else. So I've then gone and got him a mental capacity assessment report, and you're not recognizing that. So you've suspended his lasting power of attorney for health and welfare and refusing to recognize that he's got mental capacity, and then you're expecting me to register him with a doctor.
Yeah.
And how is this situation? What has to happen in order to resolve the situation?
Yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest.
Well, I'll tell you what.
I mean, one way or another, whether Talib's got capacity or not, I've asked if he could be registered with a doctor, whether you could support that, or whether Talib will be able to arrange that himself.
Well, this can only happen. Like I said, I'm willing to move forward, but it's once again, there are steps that you're refusing to follow through on. Please confirm in writing and acknowledge that the mental capacity report, which I've spent over £500 getting at a time when I've got no money left, all right, putting together. Have the reason I've presented that to yourself. I just want it to be like for you to validate it. All right, that you're not challenging. You're not going to challenge his mental capacity. You basically validate his mental capacity report, because anything can be challenged, can't it? You understand? Obviously, my brother's given a lasting power of attorney for property and finance and health and welfare. You, the council, have challenged it. All right, you said no. You've challenged it and suspended it. All right, because you've not validated it. Now, subsequently, I've got a mental capacity report done, which you, the council, and the Office of the Public Guardian were fraudulently trying to get Dr. Todd to create for your advantage, saying that he lacks capacity. I've got a report that says he does have capacity. If you're not making any steps to resolve the situation. If you say, look, all right, we've got an independent party that's assessed Talib to have mental capacity, we approve it or validate it, all right? I don't know what the word is. It's not validate. It's you accept it, basically. All right.
Acknowledge it.
Yeah, you basically acknowledge and accept its validity. Yes. Then at least I can say, all right. Well, under that authority, I'm acting to make decisions on his health and welfare by asking him consent. All right. But presently you can't be both ways. You cannot have it that we're not going to validate or acknowledge the capacity assessment report, and we're not gonna restore or unsuspend the lasting power of attorney for health and welfare, because you're leaving us in a legal vacuum, which is then exposing my brother to risk. Now, presently, Chris, this is a very serious matter. It's not going to happen. But if my brother was to die today, this is all your fault, the council's. You would be 100% liable for his death. Rest assured that's not going to happen, all right? Obviously, while I'm here, I'm going to do everything in my power to not that happen. He's my brother, I love him. But tragically, if he is to die today, like for example, if we get into a car, I take him out, we have a car accident, all right? That can happen to anybody. He ends up in a situation where his life is critical. And the doctors need to make a decision whether they should continue to keep him on life support. Who can make that decision on behalf of Talib?
Yeah.
No one. All right? I can't do it because I've got no lasting power of attorney for health and welfare. All right? I've got you're not recognizing his capacity report. You have created the situation today. And if Talib, God forbid, doesn't die, he's not going to die right now, or he doesn't die under these situations, who's going to be, who keeps the money? You've created the situation, the local authority have created the situation, which is causing us, as you can tell by the tone of my voice, a great deal of anxiety and distress unnecessarily. Because on the one hand, you want to be in charge of Talib's life. Because you, the local authority, are fearful of me. Because I am looking to hold you to account. Because you put him into a car accident. And then stole all his money and did all these other things to him. I'm his brother. What do you want me to do? Do you want me to just say, all right, ignore it? You've been abusing my brother Talib, along with other family members. Now, one of the things I did ask you to do previously, Mr. Browell, moving on from his money, moving on from his health and welfare, is that I asked you to look at his records. He was involved in a car accident. Are you aware of this?
No, I wasn't aware of it.
And did I not ask you to please look into this matter?
I don't, as far as I recall, you haven't mentioned a car accident to me, but...
No, I said, can you please review his medical records? Because obviously I've tried to get his medical records from both the council and the City Mental Bradford District Care Trust, and you're refusing to disclose that. The circumstances were this, just for your information. In July 2012, the local authority came along to do a welfare check because they didn't Talib's money. They were paying Talib direct payments of £410 for the last 5 years, and there had been no audit. So the money was accumulating. So when they came, they said, we're going to stop the direct payments and we're going to start taking over the care package to get Talib social care. So they took over the care package, and through the care agency involved my brother in a car accident. The car accident happened in December, all right, 2012. Then in January 2013, we suspended all services from yourself, all right. And then all of a sudden, everything else happened, like the court cases and everything else. So when you, the local authority, stopped his direct payments and you took over the care package, not under direct payments but through agencies, your agency worker put my brother in a car accident in December. And then obviously I spoke to Nadia Khan's supervisor or manager, Mark Truin, and that's where the situation has remained since. So this situation has remained ongoing since that car accident, which quite clearly is in his records. So please, for the next call, can you please look into his medical records when he was involved in a car accident, when you, the local authority, had taken charge of his care package?
Yeah, I can check.
Yeah. So this is what's concerning to me, is that previously when you took over the care package, you put my brother in a car accident, and then subsequently we refused to take on your support services, and the money, the direct payments of £410, that's just been accumulating since since August 2012. So you just kept all that money. So that's nearly 10 years. You've just kept all that social care money. Then subsequently, you've now taken the responsibility to take over his benefit money by removing his lasting power of attorneys And now he's in a situation where he's got nobody to make decisions regarding his health and welfare, legally speaking. It just seems the fact that whenever whatever you, the local authority, do or touch, ends up in destruction and liability. That is the facts of the matter. So please, before our next conversation, please can you look into the fact that my brother was involved in a car accident when you had removed his care package. And so you, the local authority, are not best positioned to act in my brother's best interest. Or you don't have the capacity or competency to act in his best interest. Or for his welfare or for his benefit. You came along, you removed his direct payments because you wanted to save the money, because in 2012 you were having financial problems, and then you took over and put him on a care package that resulted in him having a car accident, and then you just covered all that up and started persecuting and victimizing me, saying I'm doing all this stuff and put legal actions against me. So this matter, with all due respect, Chris, I know you've only come onto this case in the last year or two, but this matter has been going on for 10 years now. And nothing's getting resolved. In fact, at every step, it's to my detriment and to my family's detriment. By 2014, my brother Nazim had been murdered. By 2020, January 2022, my mother's now been murdered. We've lost all our finances. Nothing's getting resolved. And all this time, since August 2012, you, the local authority, have been financially profiteering and benefiting. And then you're saying, well, we're trying to resolve things. You're resolving nothing. What are you trying to resolve? Please tell me what you're trying to resolve. Presently, my brother does not have access to any of his own money. I'm supporting him. The person that you convicted of financially abusing him is now having to support him for a number of years. For how long? Since I've gone to prison since July 2017, I'm the one that's financially supporting Talib. And you come over every once in a while to give him like £100, £200. Chris, thank you for your conversation today. I'm looking to end our conversation now. Just to summarize, please can you find out how much money is accumulated by you, the council, which you had assured me that you would be doing the last time when we came to deliver the money. I need to know how much money Talib's got. I've asked you to look into returning the money back to the DWP so we can get access to it. There's access to this. We still need clarity of why Adalat's holding on to this money that you taken off me to give to Talib, which has ended up with Adalat. How can that money be given? That's over, I think, £90,000. That money still is not going to get... Talib doesn't have access to this money, all right? There needs to be some resolution regarding his lasting power of attorney for health and welfare. Who is presently responsible for this, all right, while I'm taking care of him. And there obviously, you need... Nothing can move forward in the positive direction unless you start to acknowledge and validate his mental capacity report, number one. And finally, we'll ask you to obviously write a letter of recommendation regarding his housing situation. I mean, this person, objectively speaking, has well and truly been screwed over, hasn't he, Talib? He's had all his money taken away from him, all his support services taken away from him, his carer alienated, his bedroom emptied out, his housing situation made uncertain, his mother he didn't get to see for the last year of her life, and now she's been taken away from him. Who exactly is acting in Talib's best interest or benefiting him other than me? The very person that you've convicted of financially abusing him is the only person that was working in his best interest. I'm now having to feed him, clothe him, and more importantly, Mr. Browell, is that he's doubly incontinent. All right, I'm having to, give him personal care, deal with his incontinence. He's not got access to any support services, nothing.
Shazad, why is it? Sorry to ask, but why is Talib doubly incontinent? Is there a reason he can't? Can he not say when he needs the toilet, or why is that?
Well, okay.
What's exactly causing that problem?
Okay, well, I'll explain to you exactly what's the cause of that problem. I'm glad you asked me that question. First of all, with regards to his urine, all right, he has been incontinent for some time. It's been so it's something he can't control regarding his bladder, all right. So that's why he's singly incontinent, and hence why even when I was incarcerated, you were providing support services to get his the incontinence issue started when I got incarcerated. All right. So before I was incarcerated in January 2016, that he didn't have incontinence issues. So when I was incarcerated, he got incontinence issues because he was not cared for properly, and then subsequently he's been on like those diapers, adult diapers, pads, yeah. So that's because that's why he's singularly incontinent, and he's been singularly incontinent for some time. Even subsequently, when you're providing care packages, one of the care packages included a package of care regarding his like changing his pad 3 times a day. The reason he's doubly incontinent is because when you've been taking these actions, how Talib deals with distress is he becomes constipated. All right. So this is an ongoing problem for Talib, because since all the things that have happened, more so now than before, the main problem Talib's got now is of incontinence. No, sorry, it is called constipation. All right. And so, and the reason that he gets constipated is because when he becomes distressed, there's a correlatory factor of him becoming constipated. That's just the way he reacts to distress. We all react to distress differently. Obviously, he's got mental health problems, but one of the things I've noticed is that when he becomes distressed, he becomes heavily incontinent. Now, this is fully documented during the time that he was in your care and custody. So he got taken into your care and custody, namely Linfield Mount Hospital, in August 2018. He did not have a bowel movement until late September or early October 2018. So when he becomes heavily constipated, he will not go to open his bowel movement for 6 to 8 weeks. All right. And as you can appreciate, nature does have compensates for that. So then what happens is that then there's overflow, which means that everything, I'm sure you know what overflow is. And then as a consequence of the overflow, there's a serious amount of over defecation, and there are times when he'll defecate on everything. All right. So that requires my constant vigilance. So I have to ensure that Talib doesn't get distressed, because when Talib gets distressed, he becomes heavily incontinent. Sorry,
does Talib, say if he needs to go to the toilet, does he try and make it to the toilet, or?
At this stage, no. I know he doesn't. He doesn't try to make it to the toilet. No. There are times when he's told. There are times when he's told me to come and change his pad, and as soon as I've taken the pad off, he's urinated everywhere. And I said, "Look, why have you done that for?" All right, the pad was supposed to capture this, and now it's gone all over the floor. So I've had to clean that up. Yeah. All right, but I think he's just not consciously aware of his incontinence issues. So he is doubly incontinent. I have to deal with that. All right. In addition to meeting all his ongoing needs, so that's personal care. I still take him out regularly. As I've explained to you previously, one of the part of his care package which I'm providing him with is to take him swimming. Now that's not happening because the swimming pool in Bowling, East Bowling or West Bowling or something, is closed down. So that's something that but in addition to that, I take him out regularly. I take him out daily. All right, he sits in the garden because sometimes he gets distressed. All right, and he just says, "Look, I just want to go out." He feels like the period that we spent in Oldham, he now has anxiety issues being inside because he was in closed conditions inside. So he feels he has very much anxiety of being inside locked up. So obviously you've seen the garden. He sits in the garden often. Sits in the car because he's got now anxiety issues. So can you understand that the reason that you can say I'm being obstructive, but the reality is that I'm trying to act in Talib's best interest, not to make him anxious, because that has some serious consequences to me, because I have to deal with his defecation afterwards in the long term. So, this is why it's important that he doesn't become distressed. So when you do welfare checks and bring the police over, there's consequences to Talib, which are consequences to me, because he's not gonna go to the toilet then. I mean, so he's not gonna open his bowel, and then when he does have a bowel movement through overflow, all his clothes get ruined, the bed sheets get ruined. So you understand, it's like he's suffering anxiety. The only problems we have now, this is what I'm saying to yourself, is just leave us alone. He's being cared for. If you don't want to pay the £1 million a week, which I'm charging, then that can be something that can be dealt in court with, innit? You don't have to, nobody's putting a gun to your head to pay me £1 million. It's just what I'm charging. I have to obviously if you don't pay, I'm going to have to make that form, go through the court process, and you can put a defense forward. But for you to continue to put this, get the police involved to do welfare checks, it doesn't solve anything, does it? And it's a terrible situation that Talib's in, and a terrible situation that we're in now. I'm sure, Mr. Browell, you're aware that the cost of living is going up. People are suffering because of everything is getting expensive. Look at our situation. You want me to support a household living on carer's allowance alone of £64 a week. How am I supposed to do that? And you're not giving...
That's going to be difficult. Yeah, I can only try and do what I can to try and resolve it.
You can try to...
I've made what you say.
Yeah. So you can try to... The financial situation is not even an issue. It's Talib's money. Talib has mental capacity. Give Talib unfettered access to his money. End of story. If you don't do that, you're committing a criminal offence in law, which you, the council, have convicted me of in R versus Shajad Hussain 2016. If either Talib or my mum does not have unfettered access to any money, then that's a criminal offence in law. I just want you to know this. That this presently, if he's not every day that goes by is a criminal crime taking place, which you've convicted me of, which you the council are now doing. So that can be resolved with. Please, can your seniors or the council acknowledge the capacity report, and can you please try to find out how much money he's got, and please can you make a letter of recommendation regarding the housing situation, because that's another ongoing issue that we're having to deal with. Because
with regards to the housing, I think because that's in court, that's the reason why I haven't provided a letter supporting that, because it's up to the courts, and it's not really.
What's in court?
To send a letter to a
Wait on a minute. What are you talking about? What's in court?
Well, if it's going to, you told me that it's going to court, didn't you? If that's a process that's still ongoing, I don't think it's something that I particularly should get involved in by providing a supporting letter.
Wait on a minute, Chris, you're misinformed here. Number one, the housing association have contacted you, haven't they? Regarding Talib's need. Yeah, so they contacted you. The matter is presently not in court. All right. The reason that the matter is not in court is because you, and this is what hearsay, or this is what I believe the situation is. The local authority had told the housing association to instigate legal proceeding against me for trespass, unlawful trespass on the property. All right. So that's why the matter ended up in court. When I went to court, I told them it cannot be unlawful trespass because the tenancy has not been terminated. So we're not unlawfully trespassing because my mum may be dead. It's my mum's tenancy. The housing association have not lawfully terminated the tenancy. So that they have now lawfully terminated the tenancy by giving us a notice to quit. All right. Or I believe on the 13th of April. So the matter is not, and then they've taken the matter out of court. So it's no longer in court now. All right. And so it's a bit of a grey area because no doubt they're waiting for instructions from the council of what to do next. Because obviously, they attempted to rehouse us. But then they had no suitable property available. So the letter of recommendations got nothing to do with the fact that it's in court. The fact that this matter is in court regarding Talib's deputyship and finances and you've come down to deliver money is not a conflict of interest. Whereas on a separate matter regarding his housing, where I've explained to you that local authority have a duty of care to ensure that my brother Talib does not become homeless, all right, and you can write a letter of recommendation saying that we support any for Talib to stay in the house. You're not willing to do that. The matter's not in court. They have contacted you, so you've got now a channel of communication. What concerned me is that they had contacted you rather than you contact them. Now that you have got a channel of communication, you can easily write a letter of recommendation saying, I believe that Talib's needs are being met. All right, he's out in the community under the Section 117 aftercare. All right, his brother's providing him with support. It would not be in Talib's best interest to be rehoused anywhere where other than where he is right now, where he's lived here since 2005 when he was originally discharged into the community. If you're not willing to write the letter, that's fair enough. But there'll be consequences to that too, because you, the local authority, are effectively trying to make Talib homeless. Because the reason that you're trying to make Talib homeless is because that you're trying to make me homeless. And can you understand, Chris, that anything that you're trying to do to me, effectively you're trying to do to Talib. So when you kicked me out of this house, you effectively kicked Talib out of the house. That's why me and Talib ended up at our sisters in Oldham. All right, and because you're denying me access to money, you're effectively denying Talib access to money. Yes. So anything that you're doing to me, that you the council think, well, you're just a carer, so we've got no legal liability to you. We don't have any responsibility to you. We don't have any duty of care to you as a carer. You do have a duty of care to Talib, which you have acknowledged, and that anything that negative that you're doing to me, you're doing to Talib by proxy. And so therefore there'll be consequences to this. You're trying to take away money from me, all right? Effectively ended up taking money from Talib. You're trying to make me homeless. You've ended up making Talib homeless. You're trying to exploit me. You're exploiting Talib. You're trying to persecute and victimize me. You're ending up persecuting and victimizing Talib. So you do not get out of the fact that you could target me, all right, and discriminate against me because of my close association with disabled people and get away with it. So the decisions are yours. You don't have to recognize anything. You don't have to recognize the mental capacity report. You don't have to acknowledge anything. You don't have to do nothing. Just leave it as it is. Right? Just leave it. We'll wait. If you want to wait, we'll wait. We'll see who will last longer. You or me. You, the council, or me. Because like I said, I'm charging on a daily. I'm charging on a hourly rate, a daily, on a weekly amount of £1 million a week. I'm providing support services for Talib. This is a care home that I'm operating. I've already made the local authority aware that when you kicked me out of this care home and took over, I'm charging the local authority £120 million. Once again, as you can appreciate, Talib needs a care home. He needs a family. I'm acting as his family and providing with a care home. All right, there's costs associated with this. So you, the council, can continue to victimize and persecute and badger me all you want. It makes no difference to me. As you can tell, Mr. Browell, I'm a very resilient person. But unfortunately, vulnerable people such as my brother Talib or my mother or my father or my other brother, they're the victims of effectively the victims of your aggression.
Okay.
So, Mr. Browell, can we look to end the conversation now and rearrange for when you'll be calling us back next?
Yes. Fine. If I call you, let me just check.
You can call us next week.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
I said you can call us next week.
I think next week's going to be a bit soon. It's the week after, if that's okay, please.
Okay, though. How about the 6th?
Just a second. I don't know what. See, I need to make sure that there's no point in me us having another conversation until this MDT meeting's occurred. So.
But today's Wednesday. You can arrange an MDT meeting for next week. This MDT meeting should have been arranged since we spoke in April.
I don't arrange it. I don't arrange it. It's just kind of arranged.
Who takes the lead on that?
We'd be looking at more like the like the 13th of June or something like that.
Well, that's over 2 weeks.
I'm actually on annual leave the week after next, so it'd have to be like the 16th of June or something like that.
What? Wait on a minute. We're now on the 25th of May, all right? You know the situation is critical. Presently, he's not got access to his...
Just a second, let me have a look. Just give me a second. Just trying to find out when this meeting might be. But I have annual leave, you see.
When do you have annual leave?
That is the second week of June.
Yeah, that's the 6th, isn't it? Second week of June is not next week, the week after.
So I'd be able to call you on the 7th. If you want me to call you on the 7th, that'll be fine.
On the 7th?
Yeah, or after that I go on annual leave. I could call you on the 15th or 16th.
No, 7th is fine. Okay, if you please can call me on the 7th, at least it'll give me some update. But presently, you can understand the situation is, you're leaving Talib in a very critical situation. If you leave it much later, because presently, like I said, he's not got access to any benefit money. We have no certainty regarding his health and welfare. This there's no reason why you cannot arrange or get an MDT meeting together. When it suits your agenda, you can bring it about. Can I just ask who's taking the lead on the MDT meetings?
No, I'm sorry. I don't know that as yet. I don't know that as yet.
You don't know. You don't know what?
I'll talk with you on the 7th, and I'll raise your concerns, your questions.
Okay.
But as you said about the conflict of interest and things like that, this is difficult because obviously these are the conversations that we get drawn into when we speak. So I can try and get you answers, but I can ask the questions. I'm not sure I can always get you the answers type of thing, but I can ask the questions.
Chris, what does MDT stand for?
Multidisciplinary team.
All right. So who's on the multidisciplinary team?
No, I'm sorry. I can't. I can ask that when I go to the meeting.
The reason.
The thing is, Shazad, is that the more I kind of say, the more questions that I get asked. So it's kind of a bit like never ending.
No, it's not. No, Chris.
I want to be clear with you, but
yeah.
Also, I have to be careful what I say because
that's right.
I don't want everything that I do say kind of asks another many questions.
No, but you're right. You do have to be careful what you say because you might slip up and reveal the fact that there's something fraudulent going on. Multidisciplinary means many disciplines. All right. There's nobody else involved other than the council because there's no Dr. Dixon involved. He's been discharged from the city mental. He's been discharged from the psychiatrist. So there is no. It's just the council, isn't it? It's just basically you need to speak to the council. There's no health professional involved. You're not part of the NHS, all right? He's been discharged from he's got no psychiatrist involved. There's no other discipline involved. It's only brought for the council. So you have to be careful what you say because you can't let the cat out of the bag. Because the reality is that this MDT meeting is just a ruse and a farce, isn't it? Because there's no multidisciplinary meeting. There's no involvement of me of Talib. There's just basically you need to go speak to the council, all right? And the council's going to make a decision.
It's not that, but it's obviously I'm still involved as from the CMHT.
But
as you know, there's ongoing court proceedings, but I've got to. My job kind of runs parallel to that to try and obviously. You want me to call you to kind of speak on the phone. It's good that we can maintain communication.
Yes.
Because of that, as part of my job, I can't just not contact you, and I can't just do nothing. I'm being asked to kind of. Both from yourself and from my seniors, for us to liaise and to run alongside whatever's going on at court.
Yes.
For that reason, there's an MDT
Chris,
just to kind of make sure
Chris,
to see if any resolutions can be found.
Chris, the question I asked you was, what does MDT stand for? You said it stands for multidisciplinary meeting. You didn't want to be drawn into a long-winded question-answer session, and I've just explained to you that it can't be a multidisciplinary meeting because multidisciplinary means many disciplines. There's no other discipline in order to resolve the situation. This is a council issue. Bradford Council, of which you're an employee of which you are representing, and this matter is in court. So you, the council, this is all to do with the council. It's got nothing to do with any other discipline. Your seniors are council employees. You're a council employee. You, the council, have put this matter into court. This is where there's a conflict of interest because, I know you've got a small role right now, but as far as I am concerned, you are Bradford Council. Yes? And that is not an inaccurate assessment, is it? You are an employee or an operative of Bradford Council. You are paid by Bradford Council. Bradford Council is the one that's convicted me. Bradford Council is the one that has put me, put us into this situation. Bradford Council is the one I'm saying that's murdered my mother. Bradford Council is the one that's happening this. Is it not correct that you are a Bradford Council operative?
I work for Bradford Council. They're my employers.
That's correct.
I work in the community mental health team.
Yes.
I'd like to think that I'm here to try and find resolutions if possible. So it's not that I'm just working on behalf of Bradford Council. I'm also trying to work in Talib's best interest.
No, but that's your duty, isn't it?
Try and facilitate some solutions.
With all due respect, yes, that's your role and that's your duty within Bradford Council. You are a Bradford Council employee. You are taking instructions from Bradford Council. You are taking directions from Bradford Council. They're your employers. However, your job role may be to look in Talib's best interest, but you're not doing this on a personal basis, are you? You're not Chris Browell, the private citizen. You understand? Because if Chris Browell, the private citizen, has got to do, it's not, that has no involvement. He's just you're Chris Browell, the employee of Bradford Council, and you're the only point of contact that I have to speak to Bradford Council. Bradford Council, I've just received a letter from Bradford Council yesterday saying that I should only email them. So it's good that we have a chance to have a conversation. Look, Mr. Browell, we've now been on this conversation for over an hour. We've not been talking about, what I did last summer or what you did on your holidays. We've been talking about some very pertinent, serious issues that has given me the freedom to express myself and speak to you, and you equally have understood what I'm trying to say. Verbally, I've spoken. Yet the local authority are trying to force me into, sending through email. So it's good that we've had a conversation. But the bottom line that I'm trying to say is that the questions I've asked, the decisions that need to be made are being made not by a multidisciplinary team, but by a singular team, by a single organization, by Bradford Council, of which you are an operative, of which the fact are that this matter is in court by Bradford Council issuing proceedings against me, or proceedings, they've brought a court case to court, and at the same time they're classifying me as a vexatious complainer, so I can't communicate with anybody. All right, this is a diabolical situation, and all I'm trying to get correctly understood is that it's not multidisciplinary, it's singular disciplinary, because Dr. Rashmi Dixon or any healthcare profession has got nothing to do with Talib now. City mental health team is consisting of two components. One is Bradford District Care Trust, the other is Bradford Council. The Bradford District Care Trust has got nothing to do with Talib now. Alright, he's been discharged from their services. He's remaining on the city mental health team because he does not have a social worker, which I asked for in the past. You are now effectively acting as his social worker, but you're saying that you're part of the city mental health team and you're going to have an MDT meeting. The reality is that you need to go back to speak to Bradford Council, your employers, about all the questions that I've raised to resolve the situation, and explain to them that presently my brother's been receiving £1 million a week care support. He's in a care home that I've created for him to meet specifically his needs. Every day that goes by, there's a liability that's being created for the council, and they need to look to resolve things, because if God forbid my brother's to die under these circumstances. The cost of his life is £1 billion, same as my mother's life. And so there's a cost associated, and you the council, not Mr. Chris Browell. Mr. Chris Browell is, as an employee, is doing everything he can under the limited resources that he's got, and the directions that are given. No criticism is being drawn to Mr. Christopher Browell as an employee, but full criticism and concern and is being raised regarding your employers, of which you act as an operative of, which is the fact that Bradford Council has created a situation that is endangering my brother's life. All right, and they're doing this deliberately, and for if something to happen, they're not going to say that, oh, lessons will be learned, because you're doing this deliberately. That's all I just was trying to explain to Mr. Browell. I hope you have a good I hope to speak to you on the 7th, hopefully at 2 o'clock. I hope that you're in a better position to give us a further clearer update of where we stand, because the present situation is not acceptable. I hope you, Mr. Christopher Browell, agree with me that my brother is entitled to his benefit money and should have access to his benefit money, because obviously what is he supposed to live on, and who is he supposed to rely on other than myself?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I will do. I'll give you a call on the 7th.
Okay, please can you emphasize the seriousness and the critical nature of the situation? We're here now going to be in June, all right? He's not received any access to his money since February 2021. Before that, you were giving me money. Now I've refused to accept the money. All right. My brother's never chosen to accept the money. Prior to February, before we were kicked out of this house, I was accepting the money on an interim basis. All right. While the situation was getting resolved. And then effectively you kick me out of the house. So I'm not going to take any money from yourself. I can't take money from yourself because it will be validating criminal proceeds. Because you should not have this money. So I'll leave it with you. Please can you emphasize the critical nature and the urgency to your employers, Bradford Council, to look to resolve the situation, because there's a daily liability being created, and if it's not resolved, that liability does not go away. Thank you, Mr. Browell. Have a nice day.
Okay, thanks, Shazad. Cheers, take care.
Goodbye.
Bye.
So they ring me on a private number. I'm supposed to ring them through the contact center, tell them who I am, all right, wait in line, and they ring me on a private number. And that's always the case.